Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji, Dandat Pranam. Welcome to this Saturday morning Bhagavatam class. We'll start with a small kirtan. जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरवनचारी यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरवनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरवनचारी यशोदानन्दना व्रजजनरञ्जन यमुनातीरवनचारी हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Thank you all for joining. We'll start with the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapatakamalам Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेशा गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayet Nashtaprayesha Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama-shloke Bhaktir-bhavati Naishtike Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda-gopa-kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namni Gauratushe Namaha Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagat-hitaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gauravakta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam panghum langhayate girim yatkripātamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanyam Ishwaram Om Apavitrah Pavitro Va Sarvavasthan Gatopi Va Yatsmaret Pundarikaksham Sabhahyabhyantaram Shuchihi Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu. We'll also do Shikshashtakam prayers. Cheto darpanamarjanam bhavamaha davagni nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam Anandam Buddhivardhanam Pratipadam Purnamritaswadanam Sarvatmasna
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, can you hear me, Prabhuji?
Yes,
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Yes, Prabhuji.
there is some light.
Prabhuji, Mataji ki current, she is not having power at ipude Gachibowli Satsang group lo message పెట్టారు.
Oh, okay. Just we'll wait for her to start.
Yeah.
Paused it for a while, ma.
Yeah, okay. Yes. So, Hare Krishna, Kamya Mataji, Muralidhar Prabhu, Subbarao Prabhuji, Padma Mataji.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Pooja Mataji, Praveen Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Sirisha Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandavat pranam.
Thank you so much for joining for this morning class, Saturday morning. Hare Krishna. So today we have assembled to discuss the chapter from the 7th canto, 15th chapter. The verses which are assigned to me are 31 to 50. So this is a very, very interesting chapter about basically, what is this? The title of the chapter is Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. So what does that mean? Basically, if we do whatever we like, and if we do whatever we want, we are as good as the animals, right? That's how animals live. So they also do whatever they like, they eat whatever they want, they live however, and they live wherever they want. So that is called an animalistic life. In human parlance, it could be called as karmis, who don't abide by any rules and regulations, just want to live the way they want. But when a karmi has to come to a regulated lifestyle to be at least called a human. That's what our Shastras say. That civilized human is somebody who is abiding by certain rules and regulations. For a normal citizen may think that, okay, I'm abiding by the rules and regulations of the law of the land. So I am a civilized person. But according to Shastras, that is not enough. You have to abide by the rules and regulations as prescribed by the Vedic injunctions. And for that, which means that you have to come to the path of at least Varnashrama Dharma. That is why Varnashrama Dharma was established by Krishna, as he stated in Bhagavad Gita. Right? So he specifically mentions that Chaturvarnyam Maya Shrishtam Guna Karma, and he talks about Guna Karma Vibhagasa. How did he divide the Chaturvarnyam? He is divided it based on gunas and karmas, qualities and activities. Did he ever say that I have divided you based on your birth? He never said that. That is our own human interpretation and concoction. And we have changed it that way. So therefore, Kali Yuga that's the reason why, is the worst of all the yugas. And we have got the worst bargain, you can say. But we have to make the best use of the bad bargain. That is what is our life, because that is the reason why Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also came in the form of a devotee in his Gunavatara, and he taught what is the easiest way out. So though Kali Yuga may have many flaws, but there is one very powerful weapon that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has empowered us with, and that is the Harinam Sankirtan. How easy it is compared to any other yuga, right? So this whole chapter is dedicated to instructions for civilized human beings, and it, in a gradation wise, in a systematic stepwise order, tells us how to go from one level to another. So we have already seen, the past speakers have covered the first to 30th verses, and today I am covering 31 to 50. And what does 31 to 50 contain? So I'll give a brief summary of what are these verses containing. So it begins with the yogic path. So what does it say? How do you set the foundation of yoga? So it talks about choosing a sacred place, a stable place, how should your posture be, and what you should be chanting. So it talks about chanting of pranava. Pranava means omkara. And while we are going through the verses, we'll understand, because we have to understand that this is bringing from an animalistic propensity to a basic human civilized form. So therefore, the instructions will also be basic compared to the Bhakti Yoga that we are practicing, because the instructions we have got in Bhakti Yoga through Srila Prabhupada and through the Acharyas is of the Bhakti Yoga is the topmost ladder. Right? In this process of achieving our goal, what is our goal? Achieving love of Godhead. That is our goal. And in that path, Bhakti Yoga sits on the topmost ladder. And what are the other ladders that we have learned about? Is karma. Karmis, they go to the stage of karma kanda to karma yoga to jnana yoga to ashtanga yoga to bhakti. And that is the gradation, right? So we are still discussing, in this chapter we discussed about karma kanda, and slowly it is progressing towards karma yoga, and how we can move towards transition into the yogic path, the Ashtanga Yoga. So before that, it is talking about where you should sit, what you should chant, and the regular practice, and what is the result of this yogic practice. What is the transformation that you can expect? You will see in verse 35. What is the result of a steady practice? Then you will see in verse 36 to 39 as to warning against different types of fall downs. What are the dangers of inconsistency and hypocrisy? That's what we will see. Verse 36 will tell us how false renunciates return to material life. Somebody who is, so here it is talking about, so we have already reached to the Varnashrama Dharma last stage, which is the sannyasa, and how the sannyasis, if they are falsely renunciating, then how do they fall down back into the material life? Verse 37 tells us about body is meant to perish. Okay, so and glorifying such a body is actually a symptom of foolishness. That's what it talks about. Then 38 to 39 tells us that if you are deviating from your ashrama's duties, then that will lead to a downgrade in terms of this civilization that you are trying to progress into. That is equal to hypocrisy. It means that there is no integrity there. What you say and what you mean, what you believe is not the same, right? And then it talks about, verse 40 talks about the purpose of human life, right? What is the purpose? And then verse 41 to 42, they talk about the inner mechanisms of the spiritual progress, what actually happens, and where we will see the analogy of chariot, horses, and the famous analogy that we see about the intelligence is holding the reins of the horses, and the reins are like the mind, and that example, and with a little more details that we had not covered in Bhagavad Gita. So it goes what is covered in Bhagavad Gita and beyond. That's what Bhagavatam covers. And then verse 43 to 44 talks about the different enemies, internal enemies, which means the anarthas, which pollute our consciousness. So it talks about that. Finally, how can we conquer this inner battle with the anarthas? So verse 45 talks about that, the solution. See how beautifully Bhagavatam is actually presenting everything so thematically. If we try to understand, everything is in place for a certain reason. There is no verse which is a waste of time or which is extra subject matter. You will not find anything, but it depends on our consciousness. And at the lowermost consciousness, when we just start reading Bhagavatam, what happens is that we feel that everything is so repetitive and boring. But that is the reason why we have to hear it in parampara. We have to hear these subject matters from realized souls. And the best example of such a realized soul is Srila Prabhupada. We have to read his purports very, very sincerely. And his purports, we may feel that why is it so different from the translation? You should always remember that Prabhupada is elaborating on the translation and beyond. So any aspect of the translation which can create a little ambiguity in our mind and which can create a little confusion, Prabhupada immediately takes that as an opportunity to bring us to again back to the topmost yoga, which is Bhakti Yoga. How he connects every translation, whether it talks about Bhakti or not, he connects it back to the Bhakti. And you will see that in the purport. So therefore, do not ignore any of the purport. Do not think that, oh, this will talk about the same thing. No, there is something additional, something special always about every purport that Prabhupada has given. If he has given an elaboration, it means that it is very, very significant. If the translation does not need elaboration, he anyway will not talk anything about it. So we have to understand that that is the significance of his commentaries and purports. And if we were individuals, we would have, if we didn't have the purports, can you even imagine the number of commentaries which are written and the different kind of people from the different paths? There are 14 different paths from which people have written commentaries. If you had to understand one translation, you would have had to pick up these different books, collected the information, read each of the commentary of each of the writer who's written about Srimad Bhagavatam, assimilated, understand it, and then finally concluded, understand what is the conclusion of this. Is it even humanly possible in our short lifespan when we are coming so late into bhakti? It's not even possible. It's not imaginable. We can't even thank Prabhupada enough for the kind of effort that he's put in. He used to sit with a table full of books and commentaries. But of course, what he used to do was that automatically he would filter out the commentaries of only devotees. And he has done a greatest service to the mankind because of that, because bhakti is a topmost yoga. And if he has done that shortlisting already, there is no way that we can actually get distracted and digressed by the different paths. There itself, we have got saved with 100 other things. And automatically, we get the purpose from the spotlight of bhakti. So bhakti gives that, and Prabhupada gives that nourishment to us. We have to be so very grateful, and every day, every minute, we have to express our gratitude to Prabhupada for that. So that's how he talks, the translations talk about conquering the inner battle. Then verse 46 talks about what shelter we need to take, how we should take the shelter of Krishna and Balram, right? And you will see what Prabhupada again magically brings us to in the purport. We will discuss that. And then verse 47 talks about pravritti and nivritti, gradual elevation, pravritti marga, which is gradual elevation through the karma kanda, but how it binds us back into the material life. Nivritti is about renunciation, so how it leads to liberation and bliss. It talks about that. Verses 48 to 49 talks about the different rituals done for material gain, and how they can cause anxiety and animal killing. And even acts which are for public welfare can be materially motivated. That's what this talks about. Actually, Shastras tell us everything what not to do, but we have no time to read, nor the inclination, nor the interest. And biggest thing is that we are all in ignorance, and we have the four propensities which keep us away from the Shastras. And that's why we don't know that animal sacrifice is bad, and we continue to do that, so many people, right? So result of such sacrifices is given in verse 50 and 51. And this is what I cover. I know it is quite a lot, but I have tried to make wherever possible, and wherever there was a big purport, I have tried to actually shorten it by making concise points out of that, so that your time can be well utilized and I can cover the subject which is given to me in a short span of time. So, but still, it looks like since it is 7:46, we lost some time because of the current outage. So there might be slight delay of 5-10 minutes. So therefore, please bear with me on the time front. You all also know that I'm always like that. I always take extra time, whether it is for writing answers or whether it is reading purports. So please forgive me beforehand. And Srimad Bhagavatam, I had heard from in a wonderful Maharaj's lectures that reading Srimad Bhagavatam verses is very, very important for purification, that establishes Krishna directly within the heart, while translations and purports actually give us the knowledge about Krishna and about the subject matter. And obviously they lead to purification, but what can establish Krishna directly within the heart is getting in touch with the verses. So I always try not to compromise on that aspect, because I have heard this, and I believe that this is very important for us to establish Krishna within our heart. And this is the easiest way, is by touching Srimad Bhagavatam verses. So please forgive me. I would be touching on those also. That might take a little time of yours. So we'll start with verse 31, right? Desheshu chausami samsthapyasanamaatmana sthiram sukham samam tasmin Ashitajvanga Om Iti. Translations and puppets by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Anybody wants to read the translation?
Shalai Mataji, Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji.
Translation. My dear king, in a sacred and holy place of pilgrimage, one should select a place in which to perform yoga. The place must be level and not too high or low. There one should sit very comfortably, being steady and equipoised, keeping his body straight, and thus begin chanting the Vedic pranama. Next.
So we will see in the purport also, we will see how and why, what Prabhupada elaborates about this Vedic chanting, the Vedic pranava. Pranava ante Om, Omkaram. So this particular verse is talking about sitting in a holy place or sitting in a clean place and then starting your chanting practice of pranava. So when we are thinking about the different stages of bhakti, right? So what we learned in our sampradaya, we learned about this very famous verse, which is Adav Shraddha tatha sadhu sango. Adav Shraddha tatha sadhu sangotha bhajana kriya tatho anartha nivritti syat tato nishtha ruchis tatha. Yeah, that is a very famous verse. What it is telling us is that the bhakti process, the progression and the elevation in the bhakti, once one has come to the bhakti, okay, starts with Adav Shraddha, which means that it's a faith, but it's in a very, very feeble stage. It's that kind of a faith. It's like Godame the Pilli. It can you can jump either this side or that side. It is like that cat on the wall, right? That feeble faith. You something has attracted you to Krishna consciousness, you came and started attending the satsang, but you still do not know whether you want to stay there or not. That is the stage of Adav Shraddha. And then we have heard about Tatha Sadhu Sangha and Bhajana Kriya, right? So bhakti starts with Adav Shraddha, some Shraddha, some faith in Supreme Lord. That's the beginning stage. And if you have faith, Lord will send Sadhu Sangha in your life. If you were able to successfully develop some faith in that, he will send, because he will send opportunities. He sees, he just needs to see a faint light in you of that faith. And as soon as he sees that, he sends you opportunities. If you look back, how you came into Krishna consciousness, you are your own example. You will understand what I mean. And then what happens after the faith develops? In the sadhu sangha, you start exploring spirituality, right? Which is bhajana kriya. So they will give instructions. Certain instructions are given. Prabhupada has given instructions. Guru Maharaj has given instructions. You start aspiring from somebody. But in the process, first you start following the instructions, the process, right? So then what happens? Often we see that the starting point of our spiritual journey is some meditation course. So, and this is how the bhakti basically progresses. But even before coming to bhakti, how did we develop that Adav Shraddha? You will see that before that, we would have started somewhere doing some meditation course or something or the other. Like I went to Art of Living classes, and I went even to explore. I don't know what I was exploring, but at that time I went to Art of Living. I went to Isha. Okay, I wouldn't say that they did not do anything. Now, when I read this particular purport, I realized that that also did something for me. It helped me in my elevation of consciousness, because there, whatever you do in the meditation, you have to do meditation on Omkara. Right, and you also have to do certain yoga, certain practices like Sudarshan Chakra and stuff like that. So then, what had happened was that had slightly, it helps. That also helps in purification. At least on the bodily platform, it helps on purification, certain anarthas, and therefore you become slightly ready to receive the next level of knowledge. I feel that that's how that contributed. So I'll be grateful for those paths also. And whoever is coming from whichever path, I think we should be grateful for them. Even if that path showed us that this is not the path. That's the reason why we should be grateful to them, right? So that is what was my realization. And in such so that's how, and that's what we will see now in this particular purport. We will go through a few important points that Prabhupada has given. Okay, so I'll read the purport. Translation is already read. So purport, so it says, generally the chanting of Om is recommended because in the beginning one cannot understand the personality of Godhead. As stated in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.11, Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdyate. This is a very famous verse, very, very important verse for us, right? It is talking about, again, that elevation of consciousness. First, you are able to see Brahman, then eventually you will be able to see the Paramatma realization, and ultimately you will be able to see the Bhagavan. So even though we are in the bhakti process, we know that we are actually not into impersonalism. We are not into that. But when I was reading Chaitanya Charitamrita few verses, I realized that even in this, the stage actually develops this way only, from Brahman Paramatma realization to Bhagavan, because initially we'll be in the Shanti. So there are different rasas, right? The 5 different rasas. Shanti, Shantam, Sakhyam, Shantam, Dasyam, Sakhyam, and then Vatsalyam, Madhuryam, right? So in that, the Shantarasa is nothing but actually this impersonal way only, where you have developed a certain interest in inquiry, but you have not developed an interest in the service of the Lord. And then I realized that so many years I have actually spent in that only. And that is actually because you have not even developed the taste for any service. It took me so many years to develop a taste. Means I may be thinking that I'm doing service, but actually I have not done any service if I look back of this Lord. So being scared of deity worship, that was my first padhav, my first this one. That itself shows that I'm not inclined to that. There are so many stalwart devotees in our movement who have wonderful deities in their houses, which means that they have already achieved that. They have come to the Dasya Bhav already. So they have achieved that. So while reading those purports, I realized that what was I lacking in that way. So like that, gradation is there. Even in our path, there is gradation. It's not that only impersonalists don't see the Lord. As long as we don't develop any bhava for seva, we are still in the impersonal stage only. Right? So, and here, unless one is fully convinced of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one has the tendency to become an impersonalist yogi searching for Supreme Lord within the core of his heart. Dhyanavasthita tadgatena manasa pashyanti yam yogina. Here the chanting of Omkara is recommended because in the beginning of transcendental realization, instead of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, one may chant Omkara Pranava. There is no difference between the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and Omkara, because both of them are sound representations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? So, and where have we learned this? So what is Prabhupada saying? What does this purport actually means? It means that, what is that? It basically means that before even coming to the stage of bhakti, you are in that stage where you are somehow or other, you get to know that you have to meditate upon the Omkara. So now this chapter, because it is covering the stages leading to human civilization or to the civilized form of human, that's why it is telling us first to meditate upon Omkara. Why? Because Omkara is sound representation of God itself. Like how Harinam, Hare Krishna Mahamantra is sound, is actually the sound incarnation of the Lord. The sound and the Lord's form is non-different. They say that, right? A Lord's form and Lord's paraphernalia, Lord's name, form, glories, pastimes, all these are non-different. Each one has the same potency as the Lord's form itself. And in Bhagavad Gita also, what is that? Krishna has given a verse. Rasoham apsu kaunteya prabhasmi shashi suryayo pranavah sarva vedeshu shabdakhe paurusham rishu. He said that, right? Pranava sarva vedeshu. O son of Kunti, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. He stated that I am the syllable Om. And therefore, our starting point becomes that syllable Om, right? And then we continue with the purport. It says, to practice yoga, one should go to a secluded place and should lay kusha grass on the cover it with a deer skin. Yeah, cover it with a deer skin and a soft cloth. The seat should neither be too high or too low and should be situated in a sacred place. All this also Krishna has covered in Dhyana Yoga also in Bhagavad Gita. So Hare Krishna mantra may be chanted by anyone. Now what is Prabhupada telling? It is not, the translation does not talk about Hare Krishna Mahamantra, it talks about Om. But we might just read this and that person may never come back to Krishna consciousness again. So with his mercy and compassionate nature, Prabhupada always gives what needs to be done. So he tells that, see, there are so many conditions which have to be followed. Even for chanting Om, you have to have this place label. Where do we find kusha grass now? And where will we put the deer skin and a soft cloth? Is it even possible? We can't do that. So what is the simplest thing in today's day and age to follow? Just chant Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So Prabhupada talks about Hare Krishna Mahamantra in the purport. He says that Hare Krishna Mahamantra may be chanted by anyone without consideration of place or how one sits. So see, as soon as this was written, he is immediately covered with that. So that people, there is no confusion, right? And then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has openly declared, Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha. We just read the Shikshashtakam prayers. Niyamita. So, Nam Namakari Bahudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpita Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha. Anytime, anywhere, please chant. That's what Mahaprabhu has already told. So, in chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, there is no particular injunctions regarding one's sitting place. Injunction, Niyamita Smaranena Kalaha, includes Desha, Kala and Patra, place, time and individual. So, does not matter. Please chant. That's what it is talking about, right? So, that is the reason why this is covering this shloka is covering, as soon as it talked about Om, it talked about this also. And we also know that as we meditate upon Om, because Lord is non-different from his sound, what happens? He sends opportunities to connect with us in bhakti. But we should remember, why whoever comes in bhakti, ultimately you will see even in the classes, it's not the same people whom you started with, probably. Or you yourself have started much later in the class itself, right? Like I started after the whole SSR was over, right? So like that, sometimes you just join and at the age after 40, I have lost so many years, right? So that is the reason. And why does this happen? That also Krishna tells us in Bhagavad Gita, that Manushyanam Sahasreshu Kaschit Yatati Siddhaye, right? Out of many thousands among men, only one may endeavor for perfection. And he tells that of those also who achieve perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So in our understanding, what do we understand out of this? That so many opportunities are sent to us, but we should be smart enough to take that opportunity. So of all the kind of people who are presented with this opportunity, only a few will try it. And among the few who have tried it, only a few will stick to it, right? And among the few who are sticking to it, progress to, again, the next few stages of bhajana kriya, anartha nivriti, etc. That is also limited. At every stage, there is elimination. We are playing a squid game here, right? Every stage, there is eliminated. Only one ultimately is the one who is successful. So there are such few people who can ultimately attain that perfection. But so one may think that because anyway, it is not for everybody, and I see so many anarthas in myself, does it mean anyway I will get eliminated? Why do I even start? That is only our foolishness. We have to start, because where we stopped is where we will start again in the next life. This is not like our material education where you have done PhD, but next life you have to start from your nursery. It's not like that. And you may not even do nursery if you don't get a human birth. What is the guarantee you will get a human birth? And a human birth in a place where there is a school and you can go to nursery. There is no guarantee. We may get a dog's birth, pig's birth based on what is our thought process in this janma. So therefore, it's a very rare process. There is a lot of elimination on the path, but wherever you have stopped is where you start in the next life. Therefore, in this janma, what is our responsibility? Try to get at least whatever best we can do in this lifetime. We have control only on this, right? We know only of the present. So therefore, in this lifetime, whatever is the best you can do, whatever is the best you can offer to Krishna, at least become that. And he will ensure that you start only from there in the next life. Isn't that a great deal for us? Isn't that a very hopeful statement for us? Instead of thinking that anyway, there is no, I don't see that. I don't see any light in future. Anyway, I don't see that I can achieve that perfection. Instead of that, can we not think it this way? So therefore, even whatever be our stage, whatever be our conditioning, yes, we have a lot of conditionings. It takes a lot of time for purification. Anartha Nivritti is the longest stage among all these bhakti processes. But still, with determination and with resilience, let's move forward, because that is our only hope. There is no other hope, right? So that is what we need to ensure. We go to the next shloka. Pranapanau sannirundhyat purakumbhakare chakai yavan manasthyajet kaman svanasakra nirikshana yato yato nissarati manah kama hatam bhramat tatastata upahritya hridirundhyat shanair buddha. Anybody to do translation?
Shall I, Mataji? Hare
Yes,
Krishna.
Mataji.
Translation. While continuously staring at the tip of the nose, a learned yogi practices the breathing exercises through the technical means known as Puraka, Kumbhaka, and Rechaka, controlling inhalation and exhalation and then stopping them both. In this way, the yogi restricts his mind from material attachment and gives up all mental desires. As soon as the mind, being defeated by lusty desire, drifts toward feelings of sense gratification, the yogi should immediately bring it back and arrest it within the core of his heart. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
So the purport says the practice of yoga. With this, we have already covered in Bhagavad Gita in the Dhyana Yoga chapter, right? Where Krishna has talked about this meditate and focus on the tip of the nose and all that, whatever is mentioned here. So the practice of yoga is concisely explained herein. When this practice of yoga is perfect, one sees the super soul, the Paramatma feature of the Supreme. So that is the ultimate destination of the yogis. Matlab, not the destination, but the ultimate realization of the yogis ends there. Right? One sees the super soul, the Paramatma, feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within the core of one's heart. However, in Bhagavad Gita 6.47, the Supreme Lord says, Yoginam api sarvesham mat katena antaratmana. So what is Prabhupada doing again? The translation ends at what you need to do. You have to practices the breathing exercises, controlling inhalation, okay, being defeated. Does it talk about anything about beyond that? But Prabhupada talks about it. He quotes this verse from the same Dhyana Yoga, that Yoginam api sarvesham mad gatina antaratmana shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yukta tamomata, means of all yogis, he or who always abides in me with great faith, worshipping me in transcendental loving service, is most intimately united with me. He talks about what is Krishna saying in Bhagavad Gita, right? A devotee can immediately become a perfect yogi because he practices keeping Krishna constantly within the core of his heart. So a devotee is not meditating upon the super soul feature, which is not yet personal, where we still do not believe in the personality of Lord, that he has a form, he has some qualities, he has some likes and dislikes. We are not yet come to that stage. That is what a Paramatma realizes. You realize that Paramatma is, Lord is sitting in every living entity as the super soul. To that realization you have come. But you have still not accepted that he is a person. He has a personality. That's why Prabhupada calls it Supreme Personality of Godhead. Everything has a meaning. Supreme means he is the topmost of all the personalities. Personality, he is a person and he has a personality. He has some attributes of Godhead. Of all the gods, he is the head. So Godhead. So that is why he keeps calling it Bhagavan in Sanskrit, but Supreme Personality of Godhead is a translation. Why would he do that? It's a terminology that he is only coined. He's done that because at every stage we need to remember that this is what Krishna is. Right? A devotee can immediately become a perfect yogi. And he's given that also. Manmana bhav madbhakto matyajimam namaskuru. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me and offer your homage unto me. 18.65. He's given the conclusion also in the purport, so that we don't get confused at any stage. Right? And he says, for an ordinary man in the bodily concept of life, the practice of yoga may be helpful, but one who immediately takes to devotional service can immediately become a perfect yogi without any difficulty. So Prabhupada gives that in that. So what is he doing? He's creating shortcuts for us. When will we take those shortcuts? Is upon us. Text 34. Evam abhyasyataschitam kalenalpiya sadhyate anisham tasya nirvanam yatyanindhana yahnivat. Translation. Anybody for translation? Padma Mataji, you wanted to do? I think you can unmute.
Yeah. Hare Krishna Mataji. When the yogi regularly practices in this way, in a short time, his heart becomes fixed and free from disturbance, like a fire without flames or smoke. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. So here's what Prabhupada is elaborating on is on the terminology nirvana, right? Nirvana means cessation of all material desires. So here, when the yogi regularly practices in this way, in a short time, his heart becomes fixed and free from disturbance, like a fire without a flame or smoke, right? So here, as of now, it's still talking about in that gradation of becoming a civilized human. What it talks about is that when you are doing this, you can imagine this to be like you are on a boat, and right now the human body is a boat, and right now it is anchoring to material desires. There is an anchor, it is fixed to a certain shore, a shore made of sand, let's say. Okay, the human body has its senses, the 5 senses, the ears, nose, your tongue, right, the taste, eyes, right? So like that you have the senses, and when you your body is anchoring to or rather you can say that the soul in this body, which is covered by the subtle body, and all the anarthas are filling into it. Under the influence of the 3 gunas and under the influence of these anarthas, the karmic reactions, what happens is that we anchor to a shore. Probably that shore is made of sand. It can't really hold it because that shore is not strong enough to anchor the boat. And therefore, what happens whenever the boat, which is made of senses, whichever direction the senses will take you, we start going. We start going in that direction. So there is no anchor. If we need to anchor, we need to anchor to a very strong this one. So sometimes there is an anchor with a very big block of rock, which the fishermen use so that the boat can stay steady. So do we anchor to a shore made of sand, or do we anchor to a hard block of rock? That is what Prabhupada will talk about here, right? Nirvana means cessation of all material desires. As a yogi, what we are trying to do is we are artificially trying to stop. Cessation means stopping the material desires. For those who are not very advanced, the practice of yoga is recommended in order to stop the mind from being agitated by material desires. But if one fixes his mind on the lotus feet of Krishna, so remember that this is the hard block of rock, his mind naturally becomes peaceful very soon. This peace is described in Bhagavad Gita. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram. If one can understand Krishna as the supreme enjoyer, the supreme proprietor of everything, and the supreme friend of everyone, one is established in peace and is free from material agitation. For one who cannot understand the supreme personality of Godhead, the practice of yoga is recommended. So when we understand that boat and the analogy of that, okay, shore made of sand and then anchoring there, and that is the reason why the boat actually drifts away into the waters, and whichever way the water is taking, the material life is taking us, the senses are directing whichever way, we actually go that way, right? So if we have to be free, like if the solution is given here, supreme friend of everyone, one is established in peace and free from material agitation. So if this is the target that we have, if that is what we want in our life, if peace, happiness, and freedom from material agitation or anxieties, depression, if we want that, the simplest thing that we need to do is just anchor to this block of rock, which is Krishna consciousness, right? Where we are all the time we are aware that Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. We are not the enjoyers. So you do anything to please Krishna, you automatically enjoy the bliss. He is Sachidananda Vigraha, right? The supreme proprietor of everything. He owns everything. What do we own? Neither the cement blocks which make up our villas or houses. We don't own any of that. When our body is temporary, then what is the question of creating permanent homes? Whom are we creating it for? Right? So we don't own anything. We will leave with nothing. But if we are in Krishna consciousness, we will leave with a Chintamani, right? With a Chintamani which can take us back to Godhead. Even if it doesn't take us back to Godhead and our anarthas are not done, we'll at least arrive at a destination where again we can get to practice from where we left. So that is the most hopeful thing. Next 35. Kamadibhir anavidham prashantakhila vrittiyat chittam brahma sukham sprishtam naivotishtheta karhichit. Translation, anybody wants to do?
Krishna Mataji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
When one's consciousness is uncontaminated by material lusty desires, it becomes calm and peaceful in all activities. For one is situated in eternal blissful life. Once situated on that platform, one does not return to materialistic activities. Hare Krishna.
So we are seeing that progression. First, it talked about meditating upon Om, and then about meditating on the Paramatma. So slowly, what will happen? So what is the result of that? It's talking about that one's consciousness is uncontaminated by material lusty desires. First is that purification will happen. It talked about purification. Once purification happens means there is no material contamination. There are no lusty desires. It becomes calm. So as of now, we have still not developed desires for seva. According to this chapter, we have still not desired for Krishna and his devotional service, nothing. Here, it is only talking about getting relieved of the material lusty desires. So there is an impact of that also. There is a that also has a result. And what is the result? The heart becomes calm and peaceful in all activities, because one is situated in eternal blissful life, right? So once situated on that platform, one does not return to materialistic activities. So here Prabhupada has actually elaborated on this particular sentence, Brahma Sukham Sprishtam, right? What does it mean? He says that it's also described in Bhagavad Gita. Brahma Bhuta Prasannatma, na shojati na kankshati. One who is transcendentally situated at once realizes the supreme Brahman and becomes fully joyful. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed towards every living entity. In this situation, he begins transcendental activities or devotional service of the Lord. So this is the precursor. You start the devotional service. Before that, that is what is the, I mean, when we are talking about the normal yogic ladder, where somebody has finished karma kanda, karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga, and then when they come. So this is the process for that. You can also directly go to bhakti yoga, because bhakti yoga does not have any prerequisites. We are the worst. We, like I said, of the worst bargain. We have to make the best use of this body, right? We know only what we can do in this lifetime. We don't know about the future. We don't know about the past. So one who is transcendently situated at once realizes that. So generally, once elevated to the transcendental platform of Brahma Sukha, transcendental bliss, one never comes down. But if one does not engage in devotional service, there is a chance of his returning to the material platform. Aruhya Krishrena Param Padam Tata Patantyadho Anadrita Yushmad Angraye. One may rise to the platform of Brahma Sukha, transcendental bliss, but even from the platform, one may fall down to the material platform if he does not engage himself in devotional service. So now you have removed your anchor from the shore of sand, from the seashore, but you have not anchored it elsewhere. Is there a possibility of staying stable and achieving that stability, sthiratvam? It's not possible. If you have not, once anchor is removed, it has to be anchored to something more powerful. Otherwise, we become hopeless. We have to, if we don't even know that there is an anchor of block of rock exists. Imagine if we don't even know that, what is the hope? Either we get drifted into the river or the sea, or we have to come back to the shore and again anchor it back, right? So this is that scenario. That scenario which is telling about that. So our consciousness, which is as a so that is the reason why Prabhupada is constantly talking about this. You may experience bliss, but if you want that to be a permanent bliss, then it has to be anchored to the lotus feet of Krishna. And that's the reason why Prabhupada has started the purport with explaining how bhakti can be the anchor. Though there is no mention of bhakti at all. In this particular verse, there is no mention of bhakti. But why did Prabhupada start with bhakti? Is because of that. Right? Verse 36. Yapravrajya grahat purvam trivarkavapanat punah yadi seveta tan bhikshu Savaivanta Shyapatrapah. Translation? Anybody for translation? One who accepts the sannyasa order. Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, sir.
Please do. Translation.
Yeah, translation of the one who accepts the sannyasa order gives up three principles of materialistic activities in which one indulges in the field of household life, namely religion, economic development, sense gratification. One who first accepts sannyasa but then returns to such materialistic activities is to be called as Vatanshi, or one who eats his own vomit. He is indeed a shameless person.
So I'll read the purport. Thank you so much. Yes. So this Prabhupada talks about Varnashrama Dharma, last stage of Varnashrama Dharma, Sannyasa Ashrama. Right? So what it says is that materialistic activities are regulated by the institution of Varnashrama Dharma. Without Varnashrama Dharma, materialistic activities constitute animal life. Yet even in human life, while observing the principles of Varna and Ashrama, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasa, one must ultimately accept Sannyasa, the renounced order. For only by the renounced order can one be situated in Brahma Sukha or transcendental bliss. In Brahma Sukha, one is no longer attracted by lusty desires. But what is the translation telling us? If you do it, if you do that renunciation without proper understanding, then and you are not engaging in devotional service, then there is obviously, like we understood, that there is obviously a chance for fall down. Then it is equivalent to eating your own vomit. यैस्वदेह स्मृतो नात्मा मर्त्यो वित्कर्मी भस्मवत् तैनम् आत्मसात् कृत्वा श्लाघयन्ति ह्यसत्तमा. Translation, anybody wants to read?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, ma'am.
Translation. Sannyasi who first consider that the body is subject to death when it will be transformed into stool, worms, or ashes, but who again give importance to the body and glorify it as the self, are to be considered the greatest rascals.
So it's like further describing about the sannyasis and what are the dangers of being in this. So one has to be like really aware of what are the dangers. It's not, that's the reason why not everybody, we have seen so many brahmacharis, but not everybody becomes a sannyasi, right? First consider that the body is subject to death when it will be transformed into, but who again give importance to the body and glorify it as the self, are to be considered as greatest rascals. So here what Prabhupada is saying, sannyasi is one who has clearly understood through advancement in knowledge that Brahman, he, the person himself, is the soul, not the body. One who has this understanding may take sannyasa, for he is situated in the aham brahmasmi position. Brahma bhuta prasannatma na shochati na kankshati. Such a person who no longer laments or hankers to maintain his body and who can accept all living entities as spirit souls can then enter the devotional service of the Lord. If one does not enter the devotional service of the Lord, but artificially considers himself Brahman or Narayana, not perfectly understanding that the soul and body are different, one certainly falls down. Such a person again gives importance to the body. There are many sannyasis in India who stress the importance of the body. Some of them give special importance to the body of the poor man. So he is given examples of how somebody can give importance to the body. So if he's calling Daridra Narayan, you are Narayana, I am Narayana, which means that they are still identifying in terms of bodily, this one only. So Sat Sannyasis are considered the greatest rascals, Asattama. They are shameless because they have not yet understood the difference between the body and soul. So that is not a real, this one. So sannyasis who do not know the meaning of Narayana, those who regard the body as Brahman or as Narayana, are described as Asattama, the most abominable rascals. These sannyasis have been described herein as Apatrapa and Asattama, shameless and fallen from spiritual life. I'm going a little fast because you understand that I'm short on time. So yeah, please forgive me. But at the end, if anybody has any doubts, then at the end, if there is time, you can always ask those and I will try to answer with whatever limited knowledge I have. Grihasthasya kriyatyago vratatyago vatorapi tapasvino grama seva bhikshorindriya lolata ashramapasadhyete khalvashrama vidambana devamaya vimudhamstan upekshetanu. Translation.
Shall I
Yes, Mataji.
Translation. It is abominable for a person living in the Grihasthashrama to give up the regulative principles, for a brahmachari not to follow the brahmachari vows while living under the care of the guru, for a vanaprastha to live in the village and engage in so-called social activities, or for a sannyasi to be addicted to sense gratification. One who acts in this way is to be considered the lowest renegade. Such a pretender is bewildered by the external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and one should either reject him from any position or taking compassion upon him, teach him, if possible, to resume his original position. Thank you.
Yes. And now it also talks about what are the things not to do. Right. Yes. So this particular translation is self-explanatory, what not to do. Such a pretender is bewildered by external energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One should either reject him from any position or taking compassion upon him, teach him, if possible, to resume his original position. Text 40. Atmanam ched vijaniyat ram jnana dhutashaya kim ichham kasya va hetur deham pushnati lampata. Translation. Anybody?
Shall I read, Mataji?
Who is it?
Let it.
Hare
Yes,
Krishna, Mataji.
Mataji. Yes, Prabhuji.
Let her read, Mataji.
Yes. Yes, Mataji.
Shall I?
Yes.
The human form of body is meant for understanding the self and the supreme self, the supreme personality of Godhead, both of whom are transcendently situated. If both of them can be understood when one is purified by advanced knowledge, for what reason and for whom does a foolish, greedy person maintain the body for sense gratification? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much. The human form of body is meant for understanding the self and supreme self. If both of them can be understood, then can be understood when one is purified by advanced knowledge. If both of them can be understood when one is purified by advanced knowledge. Right? So here what is Prabhupada saying? Of course, everyone in this material world is interested in maintaining the body for sense gratification. But by cultivating knowledge, one should gradually understand that the body is not the self. Both the soul and the supersoul are transcendental to the material world. There is to be understood in the human form of life, especially when one takes sannyasa. A sannyasi, one who has understood the self, should be engaged in elevating the self and associating with the super self. Our Krishna consciousness movement is meant for elevating the living being for promotion back home, back to Godhead. Seeking such elevation is one's duty in the human form of life. Unless one performs this duty, why should one maintain the body? Especially if a sannyasi not only maintains the body by ordinary means, but does everything to maintain the body, including even eating meat and other abominable things, he must be a lampata, a greedy person, simply engaged in sense gratification. A sannyasi must specifically remove himself from the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, which disturb one as long as one is not fully aware of the body, is separate from the soul. So in Nectar of Instruction, Bhakti Rasam, what is that? Upadeshamrita, right? Written by Srila Rupa Goswami. The first verse talks about Vacho Vegam Manasa Krodha Vegam Jihva Vegam Udara Upastha Vegam Etan Vegan Yo Vishaheta Dhira Sarvam Api Mam Prithvim Sasishyat. So one who has controlled his tongue, belly and genitals, then he becomes eligible actually he becomes eligible for sannyasi and then even to make disciples. That's what that particular verse talks about, right? In the Upadeshamrita. So this verse is, this particular purport is also talking about that. that everyone in this material world is interested in maintaining the body for sense gratification. But and so what is the role of a sannyasi? He has to understand about self, that he is not this body but the soul, and he should be engaged in elevating the self and associating with the super self. And not only that, he should also talk about he should also preach about this knowledge to others, right? So unless one performs these duties, why should one maintain this body? That's what Prabhupada is asking in the particular purport. Text 41. Ahu shariram rathamindriyani hayanabhishun mana indriyesham vatmani matradhishanam cha sutam sattvam prihatbandhuramesha shrishtam. Translation. Subhara Prabhuji, you want to read?
Yes. Transcendentalists who are advanced in knowledge compare the body, which is made by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, to a chariot. The senses are like the horses. The mind, the master of the senses, is like the reins. The objects of the senses are the destinations. Intelligence is the chariot driver, and the consciousness which spreads throughout the body is the cause of bondage in this material world. Hare Krishna.
So here it talks about intelligence is the chariot driver. Imagine the chariot driver has left the reins of the horses, and each horse is trying to run in one direction. Where will the chariot go? Which is the body, right? So this is a very famous analogy which is used in Bhagavad Gita also, and has been often quoted, right? So, and consciousness which spreads throughout the body is the cause of bondage in this material world. So, and that is the reason why intelligence has to hold the reins of the horses. Now, what is this intelligence? Are we talking about we being a PhD in this material world, or we knowing the greatest maths and science concepts? It's not that intelligence. Here, when we talk about philosophical parlance, or in terms of Shastra, in terms of knowledge about self, about this consciousness, it is the Shastric intelligence. Because our Shastras have everything that we need to know to elevate our consciousness, to uplift ourselves. Why we need to uplift ourselves? Because we don't want to be in the place of misery all the time, right? We can't be giving the control to the material nature, to our gunas, to our senses, to decide where we have to go next. And we continue. Like if suppose we do pious activities and we go to heavenly planets, there we swipe our credit cards, get rid of we swipe our credit cards until the credits have become zero, and then again fall back to the earthly planets. So earthly planet, again you have to suffer. Here there is a duality. There is always, where there is sukha, there is always dukha. Where there is shita, there is ushna, right? Where there is heat, there is cold. And that is the place of Martyaloka. And then again you will, for whatever you have done, suppose you have done impious acts, all the papas, then again you go back to hellish planets. There you again suffer in the hellish planets. Then again you come back after you have done prayashchitam for all your papa, then again you come back to the earthly planet. Do we want to continuously roam around in this particular cycle? We don't want to do that. And therefore, we need to sharpen our intelligence with the knowledge which is already given in our Shastras. All the shortcuts are already given to us. And that is how we need to sharpen our intelligence with the Shastric study. Okay, we also, like, none of us can say that, okay, we are masters. There are so many philosophers and scholars who have done so much. Our acharyas know so much, and we don't even know a drop of that ocean. All we know is to only read these books. At least that much we can do. Read the books that acharyas have given. Read the purports that Prabhupada has given. We can't anyway cover everything that is there in this world, but this is a filter. It has already filtered everything that is there in the world. At least we should do, the minimum thing we should do is actually read the purports of Srila Prabhupada. That is enough for our perfection. So, and that's how we can sharpen our intelligence. That intelligence which can elevate our consciousness to the next level. So for a bewildered person in the materialist way of life, the body, the mind, and the senses, which are engaged in sense gratification, are the cause of bondage to repeated birth, death, old age, and disease. Here, sense gratification means doing everything that the senses tell us to do. We are not telling the sense. Like sense is asking, okay, there is sweet there, I am diabetic, but still I will eat. That is what sense will lead us to. Foolishness, not intelligence. But if we are giving into that, that is foolishness. Then to end like that, if every desire you keep giving into those desires, then what you means we. I am also there in that. So if we keep giving into desires, what will happen? That will entangle us into next birth, because why a next birth is coming in the first place is because we have a quota of desires which are getting carried forward. And we have a quota of the karma and their karmic reactions which we are carrying from lifetimes. If those need to be nullified, then again we have to take another birth, take this desire, bhukto for all the karmic reactions that you have done, and then create, once we have got a birth, again we will do new activities, new karma, and again we will bind ourselves into new reactions and therefore take another birth. The cycle of birth and death keeps continuing this way. And like that, we have already finished millions of lifetimes. The number of species itself is 84 lakh species of consciousness. 80 lakh species, we have already come as a natural progression cycle. There is no karma. But we have already taken a natural, this life, if we have a plant's life, what is the next life is pre-decided. Okay, it will be some centipede or quadruped, or it will be an aquatic. All these are already pre-decided. The last birth is of a cow, and then finally we become human. In humans itself, we have 4 lakh types of consciousness based on the different permutations and combination of the gunas. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, a mixture of that. One who has more of that, little of this, you get one body. You finish your lifetime there, you go to the next body with a different permutation combination of that. And that's how 4 lakh species we have spent millions of lifetimes already. Do we need so many lifetimes to learn a simple lesson that whatever you do, happiness will not come from this material world? Do we need that? Intelligence is into finding a solution. That's why we have been given a human form of life. Intelligence is in finding the solution of that, of this whole entire nonsense which is happening. And our intelligence is that we don't know about how many lives we have taken in the past, how many we are going to take in future. We have got only this present life. Why waste it? We have understood that whether we get the best of promotion, best of job, highest of wealth, even then one cannot be happy. We have already understood. We don't need to experience everything. We can see examples in the world and we can get that automatically realization. And Satya Nadella's son also had a condition and then expired. Do you think he would have been a happy man? Marilyn Monroe was the most beautiful woman, and she committed suicide. Is beauty giving happiness? We have to understand by seeing the examples itself. We have to understand. We don't have to be apne pair pe aap kulhadi marne ka zarurat nahi hai. We don't have to experience everything ourselves and then only learn. Hundreds and thousands of examples are there. By seeing them, we should observe life. We should understand. Achha, this person, he was hankering for this promotion for such a long time. How much time did he spend in that promoted position and become happy? We just need to observe that. We have to have the eyes to observe. And the Shastra Gyan, the intelligence which is given by our Shastras, will give us a little more perspective of these things. That you do whatever, you will not be happy. That's what Gita says. And where will you find happiness? When you anchor your desires at the lotus feet of the Lord. Bhagavad Gita is clearly saying is Sarva Dharman Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Raja. Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshaishyami Mashcha. Sare Pap, all the Pap, I am going to nullify them. I am going to make them zero. If Pap is not there, where is the question of suffering? Where is the question of the next birth? And if all your desires, sarva dharman parityaja means all the dharmas, all the duties, if all your duties become devotional services, where is the question of having material desires? It's a simple solution that Krishna has given in just a book of 700 shlokas. And with the last 2 shlokas, we know enough with that itself. Do we really need to read all these hundreds and lakhs of Vedic shlokas to know this essence, which is already presented in 700 shlokas? We don't need to. We just have to be using our intelligence, the Shastric intelligence. Sorry, I'm overshooting on time. I don't know what's happening. I'm just speaking, going on. Okay. So, yeah, I've given the puppet. So, this is that was such a big puppet actually. I kind of concised it. The advice of experienced transcendentalists, therefore, is that the body be fully engaged for achieving the ultimate goal of life, Swarthagatim. The real interest or goal of life is to return home, back to Godhead. To enable one to fulfill this purpose, there are so many Vedic literatures, including Vedanta Sutra, Upanishads, Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata, Ramayana. One should take lessons from these Vedic literatures and learn how to practice Nivritti Marga. Nivritti Marga means Marga of liberation. Then one's life will be perfect. The body is important as long as it has consciousness. Body can be used as a tool. The soul, people will be scared if you come in the soul form as a ghost, right? So we need a body to be able to learn all this also. Ghosts can't do that. Then one's life will be perfect. The body is important as long as it has consciousness. Without consciousness, the body is merely a lump of matter. Therefore, to return home back to Godhead, one must change his consciousness from material consciousness to Krishna consciousness. One's consciousness is the cause of material bondage, but if this consciousness is purified by Bhakti Yoga, one can then understand the falsity of this upadhi, his designations as Indian, American, Hindu, Muslim, Christian, and so on. Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam tatparatvena nirmalam. One must forget these designations and use this consciousness only for the service of Krishna. Therefore, if one takes advantage of the Krishna consciousness movement, his life is certainly successful. I'll take little more time and I see if there might be some which would be left out. I'm not sure. I'll try to see. If it's not happening, then we'll give it up. Is everybody okay with little extension? Subbarao Prabhuji, how much time do you have to manage? Based on that only.
No, Mataji, please go ahead, Mataji. So I'm okay.
Okay. Aksham dasha pranam. Sorry. Aksham dasha pranam. Aksham dasha pranam adharma dharmau chakre abhimanam rathinam cha jivam dhanurhitasya pranavam pathanti sharam tu jivam parameva lakshyam. The 10 kinds of air acting within the body are compared to the spokes of the chariot wheels, and the top and bottom of the wheel itself are called religion and irreligion. The living entity in the bodily concept of life is the owner of the chariot. The Vedic mantra pranava is the bow. The pure living entity himself is the arrow, and the target is the supreme being. So, like we have seen, the last verse was talking about the reins. What are the tools which are available to us in this material universe, right? What is that best bargain out of the best utility of the bad bargain? What is it that we can do? So this is extending a little bit. This is an extension which was not covered in Bhagavad Gita. So it is telling about the 10 kinds of air, right? 10 kinds of air within the body. So what is Prabhupada talking about that? 10 kinds of air always flow within the material body. They are called prana, apana, samana, vyana, udana, naga, kurma, krikala, devadatta, and dhananjaya. They are compared here to the spokes of the chariot's wheels. The life air is the energy for all of a living being's activities, which are sometimes religious and sometimes irreligious. Thus, religion and irreligion are said to be the upper and lower portions of the chariot's wheels. So it's describing that. So what is happening? There is in a wheel, if you are seeing the spokes are connecting to a rim, right? So the spokes are like these these different kind of airs. Why the airs are important? Because actually based on the movement of the airs, they are also under the influence of all these gunas, right? And what they will either lead us to the rim, and then again this wheel is going in circles, right? Even though you have reached the rim, then again you reach the bottom side of the wheel. The wheel itself is going in circles. When the living entity decides to go back home, back to Godhead, his target is Lord Vishnu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is the conditioned state of life. One does not understand that the goal of life is the Supreme Lord. Yehi pata nahi hai. We don't even know that this is our goal. Then imagine, then we are just going up and on. We are thinking that Swarga is our destination, because Ramayanam talks about Swarga only. Does not talk about. There are some places where it talks about Param Gatim. The person has got Param Gatim because he got killed by Rama. Vali got Param Gatim. Why? Because he got killed by Rama's arrow. It's given like that. From there, at least little idea we should get what is that Paramagatim. Lekin we usually think that, okay, everything talks about Swarga. Swarga is the greatest destination. Comparing Rama with Indra, who is the king of heavenly planets. So our consciousness was still there only, right? So like that. But ultimately, we need to know what is our ultimate destination is to not stay within this material universe of the 14 planetary systems. It is to get out of this place, which is actually covered with the 7 layers of earth, water, fire, air, ether, Mahatattva, and false ego, ahankara, right? So we need to get out of this place itself, because that is where eternity is. That is where Satchitananda is. That is our original constitutional position. But we are happy going to Swarga, and then we are sad going to Narka. We don't think beyond that. The living entity tries to be happy within this material world. It is talking about what I said earlier. Not understanding the target of his life. When he is purified, however, he gives up his bodily conception of life and his false identity as belonging to a certain community, a certain nation, a certain society, a certain family, and so on. Sarvopadhi vinirmuktam tat paratvena nirmalam. Then he takes the arrow of his purified life with the help of the bow, the transcendental chanting of pranava or the Hare Krishna mantra. He throws himself towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So here in this one, in the translation, it says the Vedic mantra pranava is the bow, pure living entity himself is the arrow, and the target is the Supreme Being. So like that, it is actually compared. If with arrow of chanting the holy name of Lord, one pierces Lord Vishnu's lotus feet by dint of performing this heroic activity of devotional service, one receives the benefit of returning home back to Godhead. So Prabhupada has put it like a beautiful analogy also. 43 to 44. Rago dveshascha lobhascha shokamohau bhayam mada mano vamano sushu suyacha maya himsa cha matsaraha rajah pramada kshunnidra shatravastvevam adaya rajastama prakritaya sattva prakritaya kvachit. Translation, in the interest of time, I'll finish it. In the conditioned stage, one's conceptions of life are sometimes polluted by passion and ignorance, which are exhibited by attachment, hostility, greed, lamentation, illusion, fear, madness, false prestige, insults, fault finding, deception, envy, tolerance, passion, bewilderment, hunger, and sleep. So many types of anarthas and bad qualities. All of these are enemies. Sometimes one's conception are all polluted by goodness. So it started with all the bad qualities and anarthas, but it also says sometimes one's conceptions are also polluted by goodness. One may think, how can one be polluted by goodness also? Why do we think like that? So because actually the life's real goal here is that now the question is, when you do bad karma, what's your destination? And when you do good pious deeds, what's your destination? That's what this translation is talking about. So either of this destination good for your, is either of this destination good for your spiritual progress? Is Swarga good for your spiritual progress or going to Naraka good for us? No. Because what is life's real goal? Real aim of life is to return to Godhead, which is Vishnu, Krishna. Then material nature blocks these paths to our return to Godhead. How is it blocking? Using the three gunas. That's what. This is a summary of what Prabhupada has presented in a very long purport. I'm just summarizing that. But eventually, I would recommend that everybody should read these purports. At least during the week, what has been covered during the week can be read. I also don't do it. I agree. But I'm telling this to myself that I should read all the purports. So sattva, goodness, rajas, passion, and tamas, ignorance. These are the blocks in our path. And what are the hidden hindrances? Even being a good person. Good person means one may think that, oh, I do so much charity. I am a great patriot. So I am doing everything right. What is the need for me to practice any spirituality or take shelter of Krishna? All this does not make sense to me. I'm doing everything fine and I'm happy in what I'm doing. We may think like that, but this is a hindrance. That is also hindrance of being good. Sattva also has hindrance. So therefore the target is Shuddha Sattva without any contamination. So worst obstacles are all these anarthas and which cause material attachments for us. But beyond this material duality of good and bad, Krishna is advising Arjuna that he should transcend the three modes and stay fixed in the self. Where is he advising? In Bhagavad Gita 2.45. He is saying Traigunya Vishaya Veda Nishtraigunya Bhavarjuna Nirdvandvo Nitya Sattvastho Nirokya Kshema Atmavan. So where Nirdvanda means without duality. Nitya Sattvastha means in a pure state of spiritual existence. Niryoga Kshema means free from ideas of gain and protection. Atmavan means established in the self. So all modes, even goodness, lead only to temporary destinations, to the higher planets where again, you have to again take rebirth. You have to come back. Once you exhaust your credit card, we have to come back. And so therefore, we have to look at the real elevation, not this temporary elevation within the material universe. We have to look at real elevation where we are making true spiritual progress, which starts when one receives mercy from Guru and Krishna. And this mercy gives the Bhakti Lata Bija, the seed of devotional service beyond all modes. Right? And then Prabhupada thematically calls for an act of boldness. What is he talking about? One must be courageous in spiritual life, not attached to being seen as good or bad in material terms. Say, we are good, I am happy with this. That is not enough. The optics are not enough. The real inner self is more important. So therefore, he recommends the path of Krishna consciousness, which requires boldness to defy material norms and spread devotion. Are we not seeing there are so many preachers in our group? How bold they are, right? How much struggle they are taking to preach in different communities, right? It takes a lot of strength and it is a question of lot of willpower. One, the willpower to commit to the time every week steadily without any break. And second, the willpower to face an audience. How many of us actually faced audiences in our school life? All of us were not public speakers. But today for spreading Krishna consciousness, even though I don't know how to speak, even though words do not come to me, just with the faith that Krishna will put the right words in my mouth when I start speaking. Just with that faith, our preachers are actually preaching in different communities. Even if one person comes, even if 10 people come, or even if 200 people come, our preachers have never shied away, nor have they feared it. They have not feared the audience, though they have never learned how to speak. At least I can tell for myself. I would speak 2 lines on the stage and then run down the stage because of stage fear. Right? But Krishna, when he sees that you are so eager to glorify him, he gives you opportunity, he gives you the strength, and he also gives you fearlessness. And that is the reason why we see that all our preachers are actually fearless. It takes a lot of courage to speak about Krishna consciousness. Not everybody can talk about detachment with material, this one. Everybody is comfortable in what they are doing. where they are, whatever positions they have attained. Going and telling them that this position is not enough takes a lot of courage. So that is the greatness of our movement, and people who choose to preach in these communities. I would applaud all of them for the courage that they are displaying. I think I will end with 45. 5 shlokas would be left, which the next speaker could take, because I don't want to like extend it too much beyond your time and capacity. So I'll see if there is not much explanation. Yeah, there is. Okay. I will end with this particular words and explanation. Yavanrikaya rathamat Yavanrikaya rathamatmavashopakalpam dhatte karishta charanarchanaya nishatam ज्ञानासिमच्युतबलो दधदस्तशत्रु स्वानन्दतुष्ट उपशान्त idam vijahyat. Translation: as long as one has to accept a material body with its different parts and paraphernalia, which are not fully under one's control, one must have the lotus feet of his superiors, namely his spiritual master and the spiritual master's predecessors. By their mercy, one can sharpen the sword of knowledge. And with the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's mercy, one must then conquer the enemies mentioned above. In this way, the devotee should be able to merge into his own transcendental bliss, and then he may give up his body and resume his spiritual identity. So this is actually giving the step-by-step gradation. Again, so what is happening? First, it's talking about taking the shelter of lotus feet of superiors. Directly, we can't take shelter of Krishna. So first take shelter of superiors, because here only we have to practice submissiveness. The whole understanding of devotional service is serving with love. Why? Because love is the natural quality of a soul. That's the reason why we are also in this material world. We are also looking for love in every relationship. We hanker for love. And when somebody does not give love, we get disappointed. We get disappointed in ourselves and in our life. Why? Because we are actually hankering for that. But why we are hankering? Because that is actually not a body does not have any consciousness. Body does not have its, it has a brain, but it does not have a mind of its own. Mind is there of the soul. Right now, the mind is fully filled with anarthas because of all the karmas that we have done, all the gunas that we have, right? So, therefore, we need to take shelter of the superiors who have already got purified in this process. How they have got purified? Constant shravanam and kirtanam of the shastras, or through the mouths of pure devotees, have made them purified, right? And therefore they become a transparent mirror through which the shastric knowledge and through which the spiritual power of Krishna can actually reach us. Otherwise, we have no power to receive anything directly from Krishna with all the anarthas that we have. So that is what Prabhupada is actually talking about, that first take shelter. I'm sorry, this is the translation which Srimad Bhagavatam is talking about, that take shelter of superiors. And always remember that Guru and Acharyas will always talk exactly as available in the Shastras. They don't make up things of their own. They talk exactly as in the Shastras, and then they present it in a way that we can understand with the simple examples that our brains can understand. Why? For the same reason, because they are purified souls. They know the Shastras well, but they also know how much contaminations we have. So therefore, we need to be told in, like we are in nursery and LKG. So when a teacher who is teaching an LKG student is also saying, what, Alle Deepa, how are you today? If she's talking like that, doesn't mean that she doesn't know how to talk. She's only coming down to my level, and she's telling me if I am in PP1, she's telling me at that level. Does not mean that she is not a graduate, right? And that's what our spiritual masters do. They come to our level, give us simple, stupid material examples so that we can understand it that way. Because we can relate to these examples, we can't relate to the transcendental subject matters as yet. So that is the reason why we need to take shelter of superiors and spiritual master. Then with their mercy, then we sharpen the sword of our knowledge, right? That gives us intelligence. With the power of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's mercy, one must then conquer the enemies mentioned above. So by sharpening the intelligence and by endeavoring in this path, we attract the mercy of Krishna and the superiors. And for that, mercy of superiors is very important to attract mercy of Krishna. So therefore, please the superiors, please the spiritual master, and then automatically Krishna is pleased. Automatic. You don't have to again separately endeavor for that. So, so this actually was a huge purpose. So I'm just covering some basic points here. And that also is talking about a thematic upgradation in this translation, if you notice. So we'll understand these points. So knowing Krishna in truth is liberation. So if one understands the divine nature, the divyam of Krishna's birth. So what is the simplest way? Learn about Krishna's, hear about Krishna's birth and activities. Janma karma chamedivam divyam yevam yoveti tattvataha. So in reality, if you just hear the pastimes of Lord's birth and activities, that what it does is that is enough to take us to Krishna's eternal abode. And that is the real success of human life. Human life is a very rare opportunity. So this is how Prabhupada has presented in the purport. So I'm just giving you the thematic progression of the ideas and thoughts that Prabhupada has presented. So then he talks about human life as a rare opportunity. Why? Because human body, he again equated to a valuable boat. Guru is an expert captain of that boat. And Krishna's instructions are the favorable wind. The wind, you have a sail on the boat, and based on the wind's direction, the sail will take you. So wind's direction, if it is towards Krishna, it will take you towards Krishna. And that is basically Krishna's mercy and Krishna's instructions. And if we follow those instructions, we go towards Krishna. We go against the instructions, we go away from Krishna. The wind will take us another way, simple. So one must cooperate with the Guru and use all help to cross the ocean of ignorance. So, and then he talks about power comes from pleasing the Guru. So strength is coming from pleasing the spiritual master who gives the connection to Krishna's mercy. Without the via medium of spiritual master, we cannot get Krishna's mercy. Guru Krishna prasade pai, right? Bhaktilata bija. Without Guru and Krishna's mercy, prasade means mercy, we cannot get the Bhaktilata bija. The sword of knowledge, jnana sim, becomes effective only when sharpened by service to Guru. So rendering service to Guru is also important. Rendering service to Guru means not necessarily only physical service is counted, but if we just read what Guru has already spoken in his lectures, hear his lectures, follow those instructions. If we do that, obviously this is for me particularly, right? Then only the sword of knowledge becomes effective. Otherwise, all we are getting is only enough knowledge to only it can only lead again to pride, and it's a very double-edged sword kind of a thing. So knowledge alone is not enough. What do we need to do? Just with knowledge, it's not enough. So knowledge without bhakti can lead to a fall. So when we get the knowledge that this is what is the instructions, this is what we know about Krishna's qualities, forms, pastimes, what we should do? We should engage in bhakti, in devotional service. Service means a set of, again, activities. Bhakti is not just having, oh, I have bhakti, means I am remembering in my mind, I always remember Krishna. That is not enough. When you love somebody, unless and until you express, you show it through activities, the other person will not know, will not acknowledge. The same way, if you love Krishna, bhakti is what? Bhakti is nothing but love of Godhead. And that is our target. Love of Godhead is the target. If love of Godhead is the target, then you should do some activities also, right? We should do some activities to please our lover. And those activities are actually devotional service, which is Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Archanam, Vandanam, Padasevanam, Atma Nivedanam, the 9 processes that Prahlad Maharaj had already spoken. So without bhakti can lead to a fall even from high spiritual position. So only devotional service will ensure that we have a lasting freedom, and freedom from this material entanglement and this bondage. So bhakti is the safe platform. So pure bhakti begins when one becomes a Brahma Bhuta, which is spiritually situated, free from any desire and free from lamentation. That's what Bhagavad Gita talks about. And through bhakti alone can one fully understand Krishna and enter his kingdom. Strengthen from strength. And in this process, how can we get this? The strength to perform all this, we get the strength from Balaram, Nityananda. That's what Prabhupada actually talks about. Because why? The verse of Srimad Bhagavatam tells, take shelter of Krishna Balaram, right? So that's the reason why here we are taking Balaram is actually the Guru Tattva. So, and his strength here is not about physical strength. The strength of our devotional service, the strength of our consciousness, that we have to stick to the process, come what may, whatever be the challenges. That needs a lot of strength, that does not need physical strength. So Balaram gives that strength to hold and use the sword of Krishna's instructions. So in Kali Yuga, now we are in Kali Yuga. So what we should do? We should actually take shelter of Nityananda and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Why? Because the kind of papas that we have done, it is very difficult to access Krishna himself. And it needs a rain cloud, like not the rain cloud, the whole entire sky has to be filled with that rain cloud of mercy. Only then our papas, what we are seeing is only this lifetime. We may think that, okay, we are good here. But the fact that we have got a birth here itself means that we have a load of papa. And if we have any suffering, it also means that we have papa. So the weapon is Harinam Sankirtan, right? Mercy of Nityananda is the key. Where we have learned that Nitai Pada Kamala Koti Chandra Sushitala Jai Chayai Jagat Jurai Jai Chayai Jagat Jurai Heno Nitai Bine Bhai Radha Krishna Paite Nai Dridha Kori Dharo Nitai Pai Dridha Kori Koro Nitai Pai. So Prabhupada is talking about this Nitai, that catchhold of Nitai Pada Kamala, as written by Narottam Das Thakur, right? Great devotee again. So our great education, our birth, our parentage, our wealth, our beauty, they are not of one bit of help to us if we do not take shelter of Lord's mercy and Nityananda's mercy. So the ultimate conclusion of this whole verse and the purport is that if you have to attain your life's highest goal, which is going back to Godhead, we must understand first Krishna Tattvataha, in truth. Then what we need to do? We have to serve a bona fide guru. Third, we need to receive strength from Balaram and primarily Nitai in this Kali Yuga. Then fourth is engage in devotional service, bhakti and Harinam. That is the sure path to spiritual success. So this is what this long purport actually talks about. So I'm really sorry for the next speaker. But fortunately, they are in Saturday. So I have left 5 verses behind for you. Sorry about that. Actually, yeah, no, I don't want to take any more time of yours. You've already extended yourselves. There is not much of purport explanations there, but just the verses and translations. But still, we are already at 9:11. So thank you so much for your participation and hearing. Is there anything that I can help you with? Any questions or any feedback? Then I will surely, of course, one feedback is please control your speech and time, and I will take that. But please let me know if there's anything else. If there's nothing, then we can conclude the call.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you for the wonderful class.
Yeah.
I know, yeah, the very big purports basically in this section.
Yes, Prabhuji. Usually I
Thank
get.
you, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji. Class was very nice.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, all glories to Gurudev and Krishna's mercy. That So words have come out of our mouth, not a blade of grass moves without Krishna's permission and Guru's mercy. So we should, I have to remember that if you like anything in this class, anything in this class, if you like, that is Krishna and Guru's mercy. And it has come in parampara. There is now not a word that I have made up for myself, except some small examples. Everything is written by Prabhupada, and we just need to glorify that. Thank you so much. Then we'll conclude the class. Hare Krishna. Vancha
Yes, Mataji. Thank you.
Vancha kalpataभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च
Pranam
पतितानां
Pavanam
नमो नमः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय, श्री
Jai.
कृष्ण की जय, लीला प्रभुपाद बुक रीडिंग की जय, आमला पुराण श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय. हरे कृष्णा, दंडवत प्रणाम. Thank you so
Hare
much.
Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Deepa Mataji ki
Yes.
jai.
Thank you. Yes.
Hare